So, what's up, guys? What's up to all my Patreon subs? What's up, Keaton? Today we're looking at we're gonna be tier listing all the Patreon posts, which is a couple, and the reason why it's because this is post 52. There you go. We made it a whole year with the weekly posts. And so for the year special, why not look through all the posts again? Now that does mean I had to read through all of them again, which is it took a while. It took quite a while to read through 70, 80 thousands of words. But I did, and I ranked all of them here, and I'm just gonna be vaguely, going through all the posts and explaining what I think about all of them. So, of course, we gotta start with weekly post number 1. Now, weekly post number 1 is not very good. It's just not very good. But it is the introduction post. I think it's not good on its own. It's mainly just me talking about the Patreon itself. It's not that good on its own, but it's a nice introduction for those who actually care to read through every single post, which is that it's just a very casual thing where I literally write actually BRB gonna go eat. How I trust you, the reader, how I look at you as a person, or at least try to. So I think for that reason, we can just put it high B, right? It's a high B post. Next, we have, I'm gonna have to look through a lot of these posts. I have all of the ones on the side monitor, but okay, whatever. Point is, weekly post 2, it's basically, it's interesting because I already started talking about self-hate, and this is all the way back in How to Never Fail Again days, where I was really struggling with it, mainly because How to Never Fail Again was just such a big project, and how I had to, it became a good project because I raised my expectations of it to an essentially impossible degree. So what are the consequences of, raising the bar so high? Well, we see in the post, obviously, because you've probably read it. And so, but basically, I think it's fairly solid, talking about a bit about self-hate. Just nothing like very focused, I'd say. But how that's right. How I also wanna have to stop caring about failure, just to like how I have to try to care as little as I possibly could, which is the mentality that helps me a lot in dealing with difficult games. So this one I think is pretty solid, like mid-A, but of course we'll put like we'll rank things in the tier list a bit later when we actually get a lot of posts. I'm sure I'll forget to put them somewhat somewhere. Anyway, the point is, of course, then we had How to Never Fail Again, which with the whole like 3.5 hour commentary, had a lot of things to say about such a big project. And we move on to weekly post number 3. This is mainly this one was mainly covering just what happened with the whole Rain World Record meme, Loopcat's involvement, project Sword of Damocles. Very very good stuff. Shout out to the people who worked on that, Blademan, Loopcat, of course. I don't really remember too many people. It's been a while. Imperio, Nisei, I don't know, Crowded, Splinter. All of the good stream viewers, the classic people. But of course, after that, we talked about the whole graph moment, how to structure it, how important it is, how it's so goddamn helpful for when you're making a video like this. I probably should have used this for How to Never Fail Again, but How to Never Fail Again had its own sort of perspective on structure that you can definitely look in the whole 3.5 hour commentary. And just a bit about line and cognito hazards. So overall, like low A, nothing too exceptional, but pretty solid stuff. We have next up weekly post 4. Almost missed it. Let's just close the other ones. This one not so good. not so good. I was basically talking about the pop-off in cognito hazards. This was talking about, there you go, the polyphasic sleep idea, which you can read about it here, but the point is it didn't work out. So I was talking about how some ideas you can spend a lot of time, they don't work out. And what can you do about it? They just don't make for a good video. Maybe I set my expectations too high. Maybe it would still be important to you know, read about it. But yeah, and other than that, just the cognito hazards comments, which I think really helped out in the post quality itself, because I really like the final comment. So yeah, with the whole mud meme. So this one, it's like low B. It's nothing that interesting. Weekly post 5. Yeah, this is about the two aspects, as we like to say. The two aspects being, what is any given person the best at, right? You can pick one aspect. So for me, it's, you know, let's say we pick storytelling or whatever. But it might be a bit better to look at it of two aspects. What's the second best aspect included? So, for example, you can be a very good teacher and you can be a really good swimmer. So maybe you should teach swimming. There you go. Something like that. And this is mainly talks about YouTube sense. Of course, there's a lot more with the whole DuckDuck video, or should I say DuckDuckDuck, because it's a second channel. But it covers that video's mentality applied to me of storytelling, and perhaps the second aspect being unique, trying to be unique. So overall, that was pretty neat. But after that goes a little too much in hating on university. And like, we love hating on university, but I think this is just, it reads naive in a way. Because like, I get why I was writing like this, because I really don't like university when I have to deal with it actively. Now I don't, so now I'm a bit biased. But overall, it's you know, it's just like a moment. It's just like a little bit of a moment, like a little bit low B. So nothing too incredible. Weekly post 6. This was the explanation of Chiguraka. I mean, hey, we love the cursed video. And a bit about my new desktop, but we love the cursed video. So basically, this was just talking about the whole point of it, if you will, which I like. I actually really like that. We're gonna put this as high A. It's something, I don't know if people should think about it or anything, but it's something important to me. If you don't care about it, you don't need to care about it. Next, finally, there we go, titles. Absolutely love titles. You know that if you've seen, you know, my stream titles. Easy S tier. Just great time-lapse titles about, like, you know, Collector of Dying Beauty, very good. I like Illusion, an ever-changing Florist Robe. This also covers a bit about Experiment to Break Blow Burn, which is awesome. About stream titles, about like one of my favorite sequences of stream titles. I think people should definitely read this post. This is a fantastic post. I think it will show you something that you might have missed about the streams. Very good post. Weekly post 8, Unhappiness. Basically just a simple explanation of how, like, I don't know what makes me happy. Like, for example, you know, streaming doesn't necessarily make me happy. No, usually it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And so talking about how, like, when you don't have that, it's if you're not like doing something and you want to, like, you know, you're bored, for example, and you want to feel better, I don't know how. I can try and maybe it'll work, but I can't like guarantee it. I don't know if that's the same for everyone. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But for me, that's not quite good. If I have something to do, then that's great, because then I don't have to think about trying to be happy. I can just do the thing and be happy from doing the thing. But if I don't, bit of a problem. So just mainly talking about that, but it's all right. It's nothing really. It's fairly surface level probably. So we'll just put it like, it's like around here. All right. So next up, we go to the next tab. Scroll back down, and there we go. This is where I uploaded greatest remote record, and of course the behind the scenes video. Apparently it's 0 seconds long. might have crashed or something. I'll have to look into it. Surely I won't forget. And we can close the old posts. There we go. So next up, the ideas. You may remember my poll a long while ago about the mind experiment, and this explains what those ideas are. The mind being very important idea. I should definitely make a video about, and it mainly is just difficult to cover it in a really good way, but you kind of have to cover it in a really good way, so it's just a daunting project, but I should do it. The experiment is a very unique idea. That is, it's definitely something. Even here, I don't think it's explained that well. And of course, the end, which is an idea I haven't thought about in a long time. But this also covers some of my some musical stories like Blue Zenith, Herald of Dissonance, and Znor. All of them are very nice musical stories. But of course we get into the musical stories meme a bit later. This is just a solid 8-year post in my eyes. Just some interesting ass ideas. And so because of that, post 10 is more ideas. For more ideas, explaining 5, DS3 walk, value series, the line, which is, the line is there. Also talking about the second and the third big videos a bit, but those get their own explanations way later. And just a whole bunch of ideas, just like so many ideas. Some that were kind of made, like Comedy is Dead, kind of exists. Wait, rank commenters on their IP addresses. There's a lot of interesting ideas. Just basically, I had a list in my phone of ideas, and when I had an idea, I wrote it down. So this is just that list. So some interesting stuff. Overall, weekly post 10, obviously not as good as 9, I would say, but there's some really interesting stuff there. Get Rocky. This one is mainly, it's a very diary-esque post. Obviously, as you know, I have a schlong ass diary, which I've been, writing to still. And it's like sometimes posts do devolve into a diary-esque sort of format where I just talk about what happened without really there is to an extent trying to glean insight from something, but definitely not enough in the case of this one. So nothing too interesting, mainly just talking about the whole companies being interviewed at. So this one is definitely a C, I would say. Next up, we have weekly post 12, University's Final Challenge, which is a little better, but still just mainly complaining about university. It's like it's something. I don't really have too much to say about it. A little bit diary-esque, a little bit talking about, how I explain how I don't like to hate on people, because if you hate on someone, the hatred just continues and it doesn't really achieve much of anything. So to that extent, I don't, it's not a particularly interesting post. It's slightly better, but really not by much. There you go. Yeah, we're still recording, all good. All right, and of course, 13 posts, Never Wrong. Of course, I'm sure everyone has read Never Wrong who's watching this. Amazing post, just an absolute classic, easy S tier, perhaps even higher than 7. Very good post. I mean, what do you even say? I mean, it starts off diary-esque, I know, but don't think about that part. Easy S tier. Worry Over Nothing, weekly post 14. It's this one is, I'd say, not particularly, it doesn't have a particularly good point, but it is written in this sort of engaging way. So it's hard for me to explain it in a tier list, of course, but if you read it, you get it. It's you read it and it's there's something off about it where it's written in a way that makes you think. So I think I kind of like it because of that, but it's not something exceptional or anything. So for that, we're just gonna put it a low A. some low A, maybe high B, but for now just maybe not that low, like this low. There you go. Next up, we upload the fucking rockiest videos. Of course, I hope everyone here has seen Shizo edition. You know, and behind the scenes as well. Not that long of a post. And then we go on to collapse. Mainly just this one is definitely a lot more negative. This is probably the first like actually like collapsing post, because there are some posts, there's like 3 or 4 posts where I just am really sad. Maybe there you go, weekly post 2 or 3 I think were also pretty sad. But like these are posts where you just write and you just feel the sort of disaster happening. And I think I personally find it interesting to read. This is also talks a bit about the whole thing is anything difficult, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, just you know, talking about something like that. You have to read it to get it, but overall, I kind of like it. I kind of like it. It's also like mid A. Let's put it that way. Then of course V stands for a classic post. The whole talking about the whole love meme. How it affected my life in the diary sense, how it affected my life in the rating friends table, which you know you can see in the post. And basically just talking about love, which like it's like on one hand I don't think it's particularly interesting, but later on it gets fairly interesting, and as you see sort of how it's really good, but it's also kind of not cool at the same time. Like how it's a bit of a problem in some ways, but and how we resolve it. I think it's fairly interesting to read about that part. So as such, it's like high A tier. Nice. The twist, which is it's the only public post I think, which is a shame, because it's one of the worst posts here. It's diary-esque. There's nothing. I guess it's an introduction for those who don't know anything about the thing. Maybe that's what the mentality was behind writing it, but it says nothing. It's very diary-esque. It says nothing. So there you go. It's so okay, maybe not that bad, but like pretty sad. Weekly post 18, communities in kinning. Just a nice post talking about human behavior in the context of a random ass thing about kinning, if you even know what that is. Basically, I didn't know anything about it, and as I read about someone's opinion on it, I was like, it reminds me of how people look at roguelites. And as such, I just end up talking about like how people look at like human tribalism, how people look at what they define themselves as, and what they define things as. So overall, pretty good. A is getting a bit crowded. We're gonna move. We can probably put this back to B. All right. So let's just close some of the older posts. There's quite a few. There you go. And not built for love. That whole moment, classic. Mainly just talking about, am I good enough to be in love, right? Because like one mentality I had, right, and perhaps a recommendation to someone, is that when you go into a relationship, you become very linked with the other person in a lot of ways, especially if you spend a lot of time together. And as such, the way you behave very directly affects the other person you behave. The other person. And as such, if you are a bit of a moment yourself, right? Like for example, me with self-hate. If you're a bit of a moment, that's definitely going to, you know, mirror onto the other person. So, am I good enough to this whole thing? Now, some may argue, hey Rockman, don't you self-hate? And that's true. And that's something I address in this moment, I think, if I remember correctly. But it's a thing to think about, right? At what point are you good enough to do this whole relationship thing? Because it's a big thing. It's a whole thing and a half, right? I think a lot of people don't think about that. Perhaps for better, maybe they don't worry about it as much and just enjoy life, which is also maybe good. But either way, it's just something to think about, right? But it's not too much to make a point out of. There's also the set of idea validators idea, but overall it's like what I explained is kind of the whole thing. It explains it obviously in more detail. A set of idea validators does carry it a bit higher. So overall, like it's there. Next up, a mountain of broken thoughts. This is mainly, so this is another sort of atmospheric post, another collapse post. This is, I think this mainly shows how I differ, and perhaps this is something I should just in general think about more. But the main sort of thing that I feel makes me differ from other people, right? And maybe I'm wrong, is that I think a lot. And this post essentially explains just how much I goddamn think. I think all the goddamn time. Can't stop doing it. So, you know, it basically explains how previous ideas, like never wrong, idea validators, all of that stuff, how it all correlates into this, how so many things do that, and gives a nice poem in there that really explains it. Also has a really nice paragraph with the whole, so should I work more for people I care not for? That's a very nice paragraph. I really like it. If you try to read it without stopping the whole way, if you can, I think it reads very nicely in that extent. So overall, pretty solid post, like a low S tier, but I think it does deserve an S tier. So next up we have Returning Vigor. Basically this is the fusion explanation. Fusion explanation is pretty cool. It's something that makes me, reading through this post made me realize something. A lot of the good posts, and this is something I'll do moving forward, or at least I'll try to keep in mind moving forward, is that when you have excitement talking about something, it definitely translates to the reader as well, right? Which I know it makes sense, but it makes sense when I say it like that, but you gotta, you know, it's a realization moment. So I'll definitely try to keep that in mind, because to be fair, nowadays I don't have as much time to write long Patreon posts, but it's some really interesting stuff, especially if you've used Fusion. I think this is definitely an interesting post, like, you know, time speed auto loaders, the whole thing of expressions, some really advanced stuff here. Yeah, sadly, that is true. This post does get a bit sad at the end, introducing Dan, which is, to be fair, a very important thing to introduce. But it does like stop the whole thing the post was about, and this is something I'll talk about in post 50, if I remember that. But overall, the post itself, that being Returning Vigor, we'll say it's high B. Maybe like this, because like it does really, like, the time speed autoloader is so interesting, and this post, like, it just falls short a little bit of the explanation that makes it interesting, because I got very tired. Didn't have that much time to write the post itself. I'm just doing some more. So overall, just a little bit from me. If it fully explained the time speed autoloader, easy mid A tier. Now that being said, post 22, A Very Lovely Drug, is of course about Dan. Very, very important concept. Easily we can put this in A+ tier, almost S, but like it doesn't, like, I don't know, maybe it could be S tier, it depends on how you look at it. I put it as really high A tier. It feels like it's missing something to that extent, but very, very important post to understand how I think in general, because this is something that I still, you know, we can say suffer from. So yeah, just a very important post. Next up is Aleph Null. Aleph Null is various ideas. The images are really cool, of course. a bit about Nexus, a bit about Still Pond, Lines of Thought, so on and so forth, and Aleph Null. These ideas are like, there's nothing really particularly much to glean from, maybe just some ideas to think about with Still Pond and Lines of Thought. It tells a bit of a nice story, I would say, and of course Aleph Null is something that I don't think anyone will really get, but that's fine. Nobody really needs to, except myself. But I do like that song a lot. Now, of course, post 24, I hate the legal system. I definitely do, because you know, I explained the post obviously. Mainly just talking about getting the whole visa moment and how much it all sucks. I get it's nobody's fault, and I hope I talk about that. I didn't really remember, but basically talking about how like the legal system is built in a deconstructive way, as per Rishi. It's like, this is talking about definitions from Rishi's Donkey Kong Melee rule set video. There you go. If you know what I'm talking about, probably not. But in that sense, the legal system is very deconstructive, and how that sort of, it's like how it sucks. It just sucks. How I wish it was actually built constructively, thought out, not just, you know, this whole fucking thing. So I talk about how, and you know, you could use an AI as a judge, which I don't mind, right? Because I just really don't like the current legal system. I personally don't mind. I can see why people mind it, and I'm not saying it's bad, but overall, it's like, you know, it's about that. It's about that, and I think because of that, I think some interesting ideas are in there. It's like solid mid A tier. Then of course you have you know, Project Vigor, which I don't elaborate too much about, except in behind the scenes, where I talk about more about the fusion thing. I think, not sure how much I explained the time speed autoloader and stuff, but you know. Weekly post 25, Struggle, another type of collapse post. Actually, no, this one isn't a collapse post. This is a very short post that normally would be low B, but I do like the drawings. So, you know, if you want to check those out, we're gonna put it in mid B. Next up, we have 26, Your Only Move is Bullets. Absolutely amazing post. I love this post. I understand that a lot of people probably wouldn't like it that much. Easy S tier. No, I don't, like, the reason is like, is a very, very, very personally driven post, right? Very sort of excitement driven post, if you will. Mainly talking about how I look at music. Just like different music stories, all the way from music videos, movement, rhythm game, typer combo, video fighting, of course, devolving completely into Black Magic blazing rambling. Very cool stuff. And eventually talking about Your Only Move is Bullets, which by this point wasn't a particularly well thought out idea. It's an interesting idea here, but it gets way better all the way later when we talk about guidance. Overall, just a brain rot, just like talking about what I think in a very pure sense of the word. I like it. The 7 and 13 are definitely more informational, and sort of more like normal, if you will. This one is like, you know, I guess autistic, if you want to put it that way. But overall, pretty solid post. A very good post, actually. Turkey, on the other hand, is not. Very diary-esque, definitely low C. There's really nothing to say here. I mean, you can read it. Obviously, if you've read it, you get it. On the other hand, This Feels Right does have some actual points. Mainly talking about my perspective on parents and how, you know, dealing with the whole after Turkey meme, after meeting V, and the depression of separating with V for the time moment. It's a bit of a sad post to read, but there is a bit of a happy ending. So it's like higher B, like here somewhere, you know, something like that. All right, so next up is Do I Wanna Want? No, we can put this a bit higher. Actually, we can leave it there. It's fine. All right, Do I Wanna Want mainly talks about wanting. Oh wait, I can. All right. Post 28 also talks about physicality in love, which is pretty important. But so shout out to all you long distance relationship brothers. Good luck, guys. Good luck. So next up is do I want 29? There we go. We can actually talk about it. This is about wanting. Do you like how I don't want things? And sure, some may argue it's because of self-hate. Fair point. Very good point. But this talks more about it. Nothing like exceptional. I could have expanded on it more. But just talks about it in a sort of, something about that. I don't exactly remember, but I do remember when I read it, I thought it was solid. So we're just gonna put it like right next to 28. Alright, next up, empathy. Also, this one is like... So this one talks about, do I have empathy? Because I do seem to care about things and people in general less than other people tend to do that. I don't know, maybe that's normal, maybe it's not, I just don't know. And over the time I talk a lot in the perspective of I don't have empathy, and then at the end I realize maybe I do. So it's kind of like, kind of like a moment, but it just has some ideas to think about. I like the idea of putting them all in a row, so we're gonna keep going like that because it fits about there. Next up, 31, stuck. This is another collapse post, very critically negative one, and this is such a negatively sort of downward spiral type of post that it actually has to start bouncing back up. We go like all the way to rock bottom, so much so we actually have to start going up. So pretty interesting in that sense. I definitely do like it. I think to an extent I like it. I think to an extent I like it. Absolutely spitting words. But I do like it. That's about it. Of course, you can just read the post yourself. Blend of negative shades. This is again nothing concrete, if you will, because I was very sort of wishy-washy here. I mean, if you read it, you'll see what I mean. This is about also a bit about like other people too, but I think the main thing that makes this post like actually like something, makes it into something, if you will, is talking about this part, right? There sure are a lot of ideas in my head. A lot of these mean something perhaps meaningful, yet also meaningless to explain. Is it possible to convey this? No, it is not. It's about this idea of like, in my head I have so many ideas, right? And I try to convey them in words, right? But is it possible? I don't think so. And that is sort of disappointing in a way, but also kind of cool in another way, right? So it talks a bit about that, I think, and it's kind of neat. So as such, I kind of like it. We're gonna put it like high B-ish. We can keep that chain going. Next up, the spiral talks about the website, which I'm probably not gonna make. There's a lot of interesting ideas you can have for the website. Maybe make it a more open source project one day, maybe, right? But the important bit for the spiral is, of course, the spiral itself. I'm not gonna spoil it. You can read it on your own. It's kind of hard to explain, but it relates to Dan, and it's a very dangerous idea. But I think it's kind of like it's such a dangerous idea, such a psychotic idea to actually like allow people to do. This is just messed up, but it's kind of cool in that sense, right? It's not like actually gonna hurt anyone if it existed. I hope, probably to an extent, but hopefully, it would teach people something about self-hate, because like the whole thing, right? I think the concept of self-hate, as you can see, is reoccurring in the post, is so underexplored in what I have observed in media, right? And I understand why, but like, man, like, I feel like there's so many things you could say that are so much more interesting about it. But of course, it's hard to convey, and perhaps that is why I really want to have the spiral. But you can read about it. It explains it way better there. Next up, 30. Oh wait, did I rate it? Yeah, no, it's solid A. I mean, it's a cool concept. Uh, 34 difficulty. This is mainly talking about the whole meme of is anything difficult, and how, you know, how does one measure difficulty, and even can you measure difficulty? What even is difficult? If you are playing a game, you know, over and over and over again, and you can just play the game, you get used to the failure, and you expect to fail, you will be in this state where every failure doesn't matter, right? So if you're just doing this and you're not actually feeling any mental strain as you fail, then is it really difficult? Is it perhaps it's more just time consuming rather than difficult? What even is difficult then? Because is it really that hard to play, you know, one spear over and over again when you don't care if you lose? I don't know. In that case, I did care, but in other challenges, I didn't care as much. So it's a question. It's a question. Very subjective, this whole difficulty meme, isn't it? Overall, it doesn't really talk enough about it. I think there has to be like something in there that is interesting. That's like a more fundamental thing you can say about difficulty, but I didn't figure it out in the post. So because of that, it's like B. You know, it's like here. Also, one I remember has to be high B. We'll put it here. So, actually remember this one. So, 34. Of course, you have next post is undefined, which I mean, listen, we get it. I don't think I need to explain it that much. Maybe like here. Okay, so 36, Ever Fighting. This one's pretty cool. Obviously introduces Ever Pretty, which I wish I could talk about more, but oh well. Maybe I could revisit it sometime. But other than that, it talks about the whole concept of, you know, points, lines, and mindsets all working together to build the brain, right? Obviously it's very difficult for me to explain. There's pictures as representations there, so you can read that. But it's I think it's fairly interesting. I think it's like, it doesn't really explain anything fundamental, but like doesn't dive into a particularly good insight, but it's a way to look at things, to look at your mind. So because of that, we can just put it somewhere in A, middle A. And of course 37, absolutely beautiful post. Easily 37, just a very nice post about designed purpose and how like when you look at art, you look at the you look at the point of it, right? When you look at like a painting, what is the point? What is the meaning, right? You look at the meaning of it, right? And as you like go further and further in, you keep looking at these meanings, right? And as you go up the level, like complexity of the medium, right? You go from painting, movie, text, image, video, and video game. At the video game level, the meaning is like, it becomes really difficult to find, right? But what I think people don't think about enough is purpose, which is different from meaning. And this post obviously talks about that in like, especially video game purposes, the ones I play, because those are the ones I can think about the most. But like why was this game made, right? Which is a bit different from the meaning that the game tries to instill, right? And I think when you think about the purpose more, you end up seeing games and like genres of games as less useful things, because genres of games, when you take the purpose, it's just an implementation of that purpose, right? But when you look at the purpose of games, it doesn't matter what the genre is. You can play genres because you're good at them, right? Because you know they're similar, how they're made, but that doesn't tell anything about purpose. Any genre can be any purpose. It just depends on, you know, how much you want to make the genre into what you want to make. And this basically talks about that, right? And I think it's very interesting. So to that extent, great post. Next up, post 38, End of Everything. End of Everything is a classic concept to all of, you Patreon readers, but as a concept, it's great. I like End of Everything. Chapter 3, End of Everything, stuff like that. But this post itself, it's like low A. Because like it's mainly just talking about university and what university was to me. And it's something. So mainly the concept itself is what carries the post. Similarly, End of Babecast, post 39, also pretty weak. Because Babecast, listen, I'm not gonna talk about it much here, but I think Babecast is a very cool idea. It just so happens that it's also very difficult to explain. And I didn't put enough effort into it, and as such we got a B post. What can you do? So next up, post 40, Faithless, is about the whole Faithless Fated meme, which I think is cool. What does Faithless even mean? The idea of like, you have time to do things but nothing to do, or you don't have time to do things but a lot of things to do. The balance of those, Faithless Fated. Pretty neat. Nothing like exceptional. Also, yeah, that's right, I also talk about realness in here, which is very cool. So yeah, realness is very important for me. It's still something I think about all the time. We can put this put this here somewhere. I don't know. I don't remember most of it. The posts, like, by numbers, I don't remember them, obviously. Next up, we have 41, End of Camellia. This, of course, talks about quite a thing. And it really depends on the new person perspective, right? Because I'm well aware of what Camellia is, but a lot of you don't know. And this is a very long post. Like, how long is this post? 3,500 words. It's like, I think the whole Your Only Move is Bullets is like 3,700, and there's another 3,700. These three are the three longest posts in the whole Patreon, I think. This is a very long post, and if the story catches your attention, it can be S tier. It can be S tier. To me, it doesn't really. So I'm just gonna keep it at 41. Pretty solid. I like it. Maybe some people would like it more. Maybe some people would like it, would like it less. What do I know? 42. Ultimately, it just talks about difference in perspectives of people. I think the whole happiness and anger meme are interesting, like how people look at anger and happiness. But there's nothing that fundamentally interesting about it. And because it's a high B. It's fairly interesting, but nothing too insightful. There you go. That's the word I need to use more. Insightful. Vim, post 43. Vim, very nice. I love Vim. I'm still using Vim motions, and as such, I can talk about it way more in hopefully a future post. But for the time being, this is basically just an introduction to Vim. So I'll keep learning. Back here, I had 15 hours of experience. Now I have more like 350 hours of experience. So way more experience with Vim. I like it, still use it. Very cool stuff. Cool post. Just like it's a cool post. Like a little lower. It's hard to convey that excitement just like this, just with this small post, but hopefully I can do it in a future post. Next up, post 44. This one, it really doesn't say anything. This one really doesn't say anything. Just about coding and why software is kind of bad from a programmer perspective, right? How people just don't care, or they don't have the time to care for all of that stuff. But because of that, it's just nothing really that interesting, I would say. Maybe some people would read it and it would be a low B, but for me it's that's how I see it. Next, guidance. I love guidance. Still think about it every goddamn day. And this basically just explains the mechanics of guidance. There's a lot more I could talk about guidance. It's actually crazy. But for the time being, I think the mechanics don't go... This post is like, if you read all of it, you can go away with it not thinking about it that much, right? Because like the point is about this post is that once you read it and once you think about it and once you try to imagine it, once you see the vision, very cool, that would be S tier. But I don't know if this post can actually convey that vision, which is very difficult without actually making guidance. But if it does, I think it's S tier. Probably doesn't. I don't really believe in the post's ability that much. So overall, guidance we can leave as a solid A tier. Just a solid A tier post. Now, Nexus, on the other hand, we love Tactical Nexus. And this, I think, is a good introduction to get someone interested in the game. Will they actually play it? Of course not. Of course nobody will play Nexus. But I think it does use my excitement well to like show what this game, like how stupid this goddamn game is. And it actually has pictures, so if you didn't see those, Keaton, you can take a look again. But yeah, it's a pretty nice post. I think it's low S tier. Maybe not as low as 20 if I remember correctly, because if I remember correctly, 20 was like what? 20 was Man of Broken Thoughts, which is hard to really rate much. So maybe a little higher than that. But I think it is nice. Then post 47. It's not a particularly well organized post, you could say, but it does cover an interesting topic of when you work, what is enough work, right? Like, because at work people don't really care about time, and that's odd to me. I understand why now, but when I heard about it, I was like, what? How do you measure what is enough work? It's a really good question. It sort of relates to a little bit back with the post where I was talking about programming and how, you know, software is bad. Sort of relates to it, but it's like, you know, talking about that. What perspective do you need for that? So 47, you know, it's like it's an interesting question to ask. We can put it like low A. Next, tactical rewards. This one again continues the Nexus. This again, I do think it keeps some of the excitement momentum rolling, but it is a bit difficult to sort of, you know, keep that excitement when you're talking about something. You have to understand, right? You have to understand these things about medals and sunstones, but it's difficult to sort of put this much excitement on them as much as the, you know, initial realization of what the game is. So hopefully that realization, that excitement can go through this post and perhaps the next post where I try to talk about the actual mechanics of the game, so that, you know, we can actually eventually get to the really interesting stuff. But for the time being, it's like, you know, it's like, well, it's still an 8-year post, because maybe like, I don't know, 38, 48, because, you know, it's still, I think it's still pretty ridiculous with the sun medals, but you know, not as good. 49 money game, nothing really that interesting to say. It's mainly just my perspective on money and how much I be spending these days. God damn. But I do be spending for usually a good reason. So it's a thing of me trying. It's a more, I guess, real life meme of actually living, you know, and all that. So I think to that extent it's somewhat interesting. It's more real life because I don't talk about my life, as you can see, that much. Mainly just things I'm interested in. But overall, fairly solid. Like maybe like solid B. And of course, Wheelie Post 50, easy S tier. Love this post. I mean, might be better than Never Wrong. It if you fully go with the Never Wrong idea. Never Wrong is by far the best post, but we can keep it here. We can keep it here. Identity is an amazing post, absolutely amazing. Basically, if you remember design purpose with post 37, this is something similar, but this talks about the identity. Again, meaning, purpose, and identity are all slightly different. And I think this, like, if you ever wonder how I think about something like Rainwall challenges or what videos to make, identity is one of the first things I have to consider. Besides, the actual viability of making it, but what makes How to Never Fail so good? What makes One Spear so good? What makes goddamn fucking even Camellia maybe so good? Or maybe I should say, what doesn't make it bad? What makes it Void Stranger so good? Sync Pass, right? Just various things that I really like. What makes Guidance so good? That I really like. You can tell I like them because of this identity moment. So, very cool stuff. And finally, weekly post 51, line goes up. The whole investing moment, which I'm still looking into. We'll get way more deeper into it. But for the time being, this whole meme, right, basically just talks about the sort of basics of investing, right? The whole idea of risk and time and balancing those depending on how much you want to deal with either. Basically talking about how you right there. Yeah, you right there. You should look into investing. If you have some money you're not using, may as well invest it. There's some ways you can do it. If anything, may as well put it into bonds. Put it into a government bond for 6% a year, and it's better than nothing. Especially if you know you're not gonna use it, right? If you know you're gonna use it, okay, then actually use it to invest in yourself. But if you're not, if you're more like me who likes to collect money and keep it, consider investing for sure. It can definitely be a good thing for quite a small amount of research. You can get quite a lot of money over time. So you just have to have time. So as for the rating, overall, I think it's pretty important. Solid 8 here. And finally, post 52 is this one, the one you're watching. The actual text post will probably be like the transcript of the video if it's gonna be anything. So overall, the concept of this post, that's hard to say. D tier, of course. I like how everything here in A tier is chilling. So we can put it like a lower S tier. And so, that covers all the posts. Of course, all the posts that have currently been made. So as for, the rest of the posts, the future posts, obviously all of them are going to be S+. We can put them in a new row. Oh goodness. There you go. S+ for pink. Sorry, blue. Put it here. Turn it back. There you go, beautiful. And obviously, we can already obviously just put and finish out the tier list. So let's just quickly do that. Here, cool. Well, obviously, post 70, that was gonna be a good one, I'm sure. Right here. Just, a little off. At this point, it doesn't really matter. There you go. We can zoom out though. There you go. Oh, there you go. Obviously, I mean, hold on. Post 111, that's actually a really good one. That's my favorite. Almost missed it. We can zoom out a little more. It's getting a really big tier on the way. No, I realize we can actually move this thing a little down. That should make it a bit easier to move. There we go. Down. Oh, pause. That's it's like around here. A little left. This one. Well, I'd say just missed it a bit. That one, it's pretty good. It's about there. Oh, 353. I actually really like 353. Hold on. Just it's a little messy. Sorry, just have so many tabs up. Right next to 53, of course. Both were pretty good. Oh, 400 is a little better than that. There you go. Actually, no, it's not that good. It's fine. 324 is fine. Cool. Oh, 407. I mean, I can zoom out a bit, but 407. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, there we go. Ooh, 555. That's pretty good. Oh, I missed 412 and 415. 415 is a bit better. Oh, can I? What a shame I can't scroll up. It's just they really don't support like a lot of images here. It's crazy. So many posts to rate. Yeah, this one's a bit better. Yeah. It's pretty important stuff I am recording. Good. Wouldn't want to miss this, you know. Oh, 731. I actually really like 731. It's a little bit, just a little bit. Where it is? There you go. Oh, it's like right about like around there. Yeah, that's about good. Okay, good. Nope. Oh, I pinned the images. Ah, how neat. Ah, we can unpin them, it's fine. Seven, 7-3. A little better. I like 7-7-3. Like around there. There you go. Seven 70 is pretty good too. Oh, 900 is actually, I like 900. I really tried for that one. We can put it a bit higher than that. Like a little bit higher. Like a little bit higher. Just a little bit higher. You know, like almost there. Yeah. No. Alright, there we go. Oh, I missed 771. Yeah, it was next to 775. Oh, 997. 997 is actually really good. Hold on. Just gotta make sure we don't miss it. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, where'd it go? Hold on, I gotta find it. Oh, there. Oh, like, oh, yeah, next to 330, of course. And then 864. Yep. Yeah, like right about there. Okay, there you go. So yeah, that's let me just quickly move this up. There you go. See, and that's the tier list. There you go. Oh, let me just zoom out so you can fully see it. It's a little big, but you know, these posts pretty solid. Obviously, you want to read all of these posts. Which is why you should subscribe, and I should thank all of my subscribers. You know, the 2 tiers of subscribers. You have unsubscribed after subscribing, Vinci, and that like Brazilian guy. I forgot his name, sadly. It didn't stay long. And the subscribed tier, of course, very good. Shout out Keaton. So there you go. There you go. I hope this gives you a nice thing, you know, a nice handbook to remember which post to read. Make sure to look out for post. What was it? 753, I believe, right? 353. My bad. Make sure to look out for that one. That one's pretty good. But until then, of course, you know, until then you'll just have to keep waiting. You know.